I discovered that my wife has a second social media profile, and there, she pretends to be a single woman with no children. We had been together for 7 years, and from the beginning, she always seemed transparent, mature, centered, a devoted mother to our 5-year-old daughter, a respected professional in marketing. Nothing ever seemed out of place, until a random notification made me stumble upon the truth. It was just another night. Ashley was in the shower, and I was scrolling on my phone, trying to remember the name of a restaurant she had mentioned the week before. I thought about searching on her Instagram since she's always posting food pics on her stories, but when I typed her name in the search, the algorithm showed me 2 profiles. One, the one I knew, the other, with a different last name, a different photo, more provocative, and a bio that made my blood run cold. Single, in love with life. No strings attached, no kids. I was paralyzed for a few seconds. It was the same Ashley, same face, same smile, but in a completely different context. This second profile was like an alternate version of the woman I share a bed with every night. My first reaction was to think, must be a fake account. Someone stole her photos. But no. As I scrolled through the feed, I saw recent videos, stories from the same place where we had been on vacation 2 weeks ago, but without me or our daughter. She filmed herself alone, laughing at the camera, saying things like, traveling to recharge my batteries, or free to live however I want. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring in the photos. She wasn't even using her married name. My heart was racing. I knew I had to confront her, but my mind was buzzing with 1,000 questions. Why? Since when? Who else knows about this? Ashley was never an influencer, but that profile had thousands of followers. Comments from men flirting, messages like, how is a beautiful woman like this still single? And she responded, laughed, played along, fed the lie. I closed my phone when I heard the shower turn off. My body was shaking. I put the phone away as if hiding it for a few more minutes would give me time to understand everything. She came out of the bathroom in a towel as if nothing had happened. What's wrong? You look weird, she asked. I smiled. A fake automatic smile. Nothing, just tired. She kissed me lightly and I felt sick. No matter how much I tried to control myself, something inside me had changed. And the worst part? I still loved her. That's why it hurt so much. I spent the week observing, analyzing. I made a fake profile and started following that second Instagram. She accepted everyone, posted daily. Videos with filters, motivational messages, phrases about freedom and independence. Everything very rehearsed, very planned. On Friday, I waited for her to fall asleep and got access to her phone. It wasn't hard. She always used the same password. I opened Instagram and there was the duplicated app, that dual apps feature she used for work. But this second profile wasn't for work. It was personal and full of messages. I talked to a friend in IT and managed to extract some conversations. I discovered she was talking to one man in particular quite frequently, someone called Brian C. His profile was private, but from the messages I could tell they knew each other personally, and what I read made me lose my footing. I wish you were here right now. With you, I feel alive. I promise everything will work out soon. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, trying to imagine how many lies were hidden behind that sweet smile she always had. Ashley never mentioned this man, never gave any signs, but there it all was, clear, cruel. I thought about confronting her right then, but I didn't want to act on impulse. I needed more. I needed to understand if this was just a virtual game or if there was something physical involved. And most importantly, I needed to think about our daughter, because as much as my heart was destroyed, I didn't want her to be hit by the chaos that was about to happen. The next morning, I started putting together my plan. The next day, I watched her with different eyes. Ashley woke up, played with our daughter, made coffee. Everything seemed perfectly normal. But now I saw her gestures differently. Every laugh seemed rehearsed. Every kiss seemed like a distraction. She wasn't just my wife. She was an actress. I spent the entire weekend pretending nothing had changed. We had a barbecue on Sunday, hosted her parents at home. I smiled, served beer, made jokes. But inside, I was only thinking about one thing. Who is this Brian guy, and how far did this charade go? On Monday, I took our daughter to school earlier and went to work, but with another plan in mind. I called the same IT friend, Mike. He's the type of guy who always liked to play hacker, and now he'd be useful. Dude, I need you to find out who this Brian C. is, I asked straight up. No beating around the bush. Full name, social media, if you have an address, even better. Mike hesitated for a few seconds, but knowing my tone, he realized I was serious. This has to do with Ashley? It does. All right then, send me what you have, I'll do some digging. I sent everything. Screenshots of the messages, the Instagram handle, the little information from the private profile, and I waited. Meanwhile, I kept monitoring her fake profile. That same afternoon, she posted a photo drinking wine with the caption, "When the company is good, time flies." But I was at work, and our daughter was at school, so who was she with? I got home early that day. Ashley wasn't there. I texted, "Where are you?" She replied almost immediately, "Stop by the mall real quick. Want me to bring anything?" "No. Just curious." She responded with a smiley emoji. When she got home, everything seemed normal. Shopping bags from a clothing store, new perfume. I kissed her, but my head was 1,000 miles away. Did she really go to the mall? Or was this Brian guy with her at that moment? That night, Mike called me. "I got some stuff. Talk." His name is Brian Carver, 40 years old, single, works as a dentist, has a private practice downtown, and guess what? He and Ashley follow each other on 3 social networks, and there's more. I found old photos of him with her at marketing events. Looks like they've known each other for quite a few years. My stomach turned. Got an address? Sent everything by email. I hung up and stared at my phone screen. Ashley was in the bedroom, watching series with headphones, laughing at something on screen. Was she laughing at the series or texting him? That night, I made a decision. The next day, I made an excuse at work, took the car and went to Brian's clinic. I parked across the street, watching. He came out around 1 p.m., got into a sports car, alone. I followed from a distance. He went to a restaurant, and who showed up 15 minutes later was her. Ashley, my wife, walking into the restaurant with that man. They didn't hug or kiss, but the smiles, the looks, were intimate. She was happy. I stayed in the car, hands shaking on the steering wheel. I wanted to storm the place, end it right there, but I controlled myself. I grabbed my phone, photographed everything, recorded every moment, the way she leaned toward him, how he discreetly touched her hand under the table. After an hour, she left first. He stayed longer, clearly avoiding leaving together. I went home before her, my head boiling, and when she arrived, bringing a dessert to celebrate our day, I just smiled and accepted it. "What day is today?" I asked. She looked at me surprised. "Well, our wedding anniversary. I thought you were going to tease me that I had forgotten." She kissed me, and I almost threw up. She was with him, while claiming to celebrate with us. That night, after she fell asleep, I started printing the photos, saving the conversations, putting together a dossier. It wasn't just about infidelity. It was about deception, about the double life she was leading, about our daughter growing up surrounded by lies. But I still didn't know the worst part. What I would discover days later would change everything I thought I understood about my own life. In the days that followed, I became an undercover detective disguised as a husband. Every gesture of hers, every hour she spent away from home, every little detail, everything became a clue. Ashley, of course, didn't suspect anything. She continued with the theater of devoted wife, caring mother, exemplary professional. But now, every smile she gave felt like a knife entering my chest. And yet, I hesitated. Part of me still wanted to believe this could have an explanation, that maybe she was confused, going through some crisis, that it wasn't as serious as it seemed. I don't know if it was hope or cowardice. But that illusion ended on a Tuesday night. We were watching TV together. Our daughter had already gone to sleep, and she was on her phone with that annoying little smile of someone secretly texting. I played it off, got up, and said I was going to bed early. When she went to the bathroom, I left my phone with an app mirroring her screen, something Mike taught me to use. In seconds, I saw the messages in real time. She was talking to Brian, and it wasn't just any conversation. "He's acting strange, seems like he suspects, but I'm acting normal. Don't worry, honey. Soon we'll solve this. Promise it'll be like we planned?" Planned what? My heart raced. I ran to the guest bathroom, closed the door, and sat on the floor with my phone trembling in my hands. I kept reading. "Brian, I trust you. As soon as everything's settled, we disappear. Ashley, he won't even have time to react. It'll look like my choice." That's when the floor disappeared. It'll look like my choice. In that instant, everything made sense in a sick way. Her approach in recent days, the way she avoided arguments, the random gifts, the attempt to make everything seem normal. She was setting up her own exit, an escape, a cold betrayal planned down to the smallest details. And the worst part, she was probably going to take our daughter with her. I went back to the bedroom shaking. I lay down, pretended to sleep. But what I felt wasn't anger, it was fear. The next day, I went to a lawyer. I explained the situation calmly, without mentioning espionage or screenshots. I said my wife was emotionally unstable, that there were signs of possible abandonment of home and risk of her trying to leave the country with our daughter. He advised me to act quickly, with caution. He asked me to gather everything I had as evidence, especially documents about custody, the child's residence, school ties. He said that in a situation like this, the judge always seeks to preserve the child's stability, and if I got ahead of it, I could get temporary custody in a few days. I went home determined, but still not knowing when she planned to run. And then, on Saturday, it happened. Ashley woke up early, said she was going to take our daughter to spend the day with her mother. Something in her voice made me freeze. It was rehearsed. Too rehearsed. "Can I come along?" I asked, feigning naturalness. She smiled awkwardly. "Honey, don't you have that work to finish?" I nodded. "Agreed. smiled too. I waited for her to leave with the girl, and 10 minutes later I followed their car. But she didn't go to her mother's house. She went straight to the airport. I parked far away, went in without being seen, followed from a distance. Ashley was holding our daughter's hand with 2 medium-sized suitcases. She didn't look like someone who was planning to come home. That's when I approached. Ashley! She froze, turned around slowly. Her expression said everything. Guilt, terror, surprise. What are you doing here? She tried to smile, but her voice failed. I should ask you the same thing. Where were you going? She didn't answer, just looked around as if searching for an exit. I picked up our daughter. Go home with mommy, sweetheart. Daddy needs to talk to her for a minute. She nodded, innocent, understanding nothing. I handed her to an airline attendant who was looking at me, confused, and asked, please take her to the main hall. Mom will pick her up there in 5 minutes. The attendant, embarrassed, agreed. And then I faced Ashley. You were going to run away? She was speechless. You were going to disappear with our daughter, is that it? She started to say something, but couldn't continue. With Brian? She widened her eyes, pale, desperate. I know everything, Ashley. The fake profile, the messages, the restaurant, the plans, everything. You were going to pretend it was your choice. Leave me looking like an idiot. You were going to disappear. She started crying. I was going to tell you. I wanted a new life. I couldn't stand this routine anymore, this weight, this role of perfect wife. You never really saw me. And this was the solution? Lying? Running away, using our daughter as escape currency? She fell to her knees in the middle of the terminal, cried silently. But I no longer felt pity. I felt relief, because now there were no more doubts. I had everything I needed. I left there and went straight to the police station, then to the courthouse. I filed for custody. Ashley tried to argue, but had no chance with everything I had in hand. And still, the worst was yet to come, because days later I would discover that Brian wasn't just a lover. He had an old connection with Ashley, a connection that would change everything. I thought I had seen the worst. That rock bottom had been there, at the airport, when I discovered Ashley was going to run away with our daughter to start a new life with another man. But I was wrong, very wrong. After filing the custody proceedings, my routine became chaos. Meetings with lawyers, psychologists, calls from the courthouse, visits to my daughter's school to ensure stability. And in the middle of all this, Ashley tried to convince me to resolve everything amicably. She said she was sorry, that she had lost control, that Brian didn't mean anything anymore. Lies. With each conversation, she seemed more desperate, trying to clean up her own image. But I no longer trusted any word, and deep down, something told me there was still a missing piece to this puzzle. It was Mike who brought that piece once again. Remember I said they had known each other for years? I remember, I replied dryly. I dug a little deeper. I went after old records, archived profiles, even marketing forums from 10 years ago. And look what I found. He sent me a link to a defunct forum with an old photo, a university event, one of those communication fairs. Ashley was there, much younger, next to a group of students. And who was next to her with his arm behind her chair? Brian. So, they already knew each other back then, I commented. So what? Mike was silent for a while. So what if my timeline is right, this photo is from 2009. Okay. And your daughter was born in, I fell silent, in 2020. Then why is there a comment from Ashley herself on this photo, written 2 years later saying, it was just the two of us back then? Before everything got complicated? My heart stopped for a second. Before everything got complicated? Mike continued. Dude, what if this before everything got complicated is before she met you? What are you implying? I'm saying maybe Brian isn't just the current lover. Maybe he was the first. Maybe the only one. I felt my breath catch. A horrible thought shot through me like an arrow. What if my daughter isn't my daughter? I grabbed my phone, trembling, opened old photos, started comparing features. I always thought she looked like me, but now I wasn't sure anymore. And the worst part? Ashley always avoided talking about the beginning of the pregnancy, said it was unexpected, that she was confused at the time, but that we were happy, and I believed it. That night, I waited for my daughter to fall asleep and went to Ashley, who was now temporarily living with her mother. I need to talk to you, I said, straight to the point, no beating around the bush. She looked at me tensely, sat on the couch. What is it? Who is Brian, really? She looked away. I already told you, someone from the past. I got involved again, but it's over. I'm sorry. You knew him since college. She didn't answer. And our daughter? Her look changed, became static. The expression froze. What about our daughter? Is she mine? The silence that followed was the confirmation I needed. Ashley didn't cry, didn't scream, just sat there, still, until she finally said in a whisper, I'm not sure. Those 4 words destroyed me. I left there, unable to breathe properly. In the car, I broke down. Everything we built, all my dedication, everything I had done for that family could be based on a lie. The next day, I talked to my lawyer. I filed for a judicial paternity test. Ashley freaked out, said I was traumatizing our daughter, that it was unfair. But now, justice was all I wanted. And while the process continued, I received a new message from Brian. Yes, He reached out to me. You think you're doing the right thing, but you're just traumatizing an innocent child. Leave her out of this. I didn't respond, just took a screenshot and sent it to the lawyer, because now everything was exposed, and I needed an answer. One last truth that could change everything, or set me free once and for all. The wait for the paternity test results was, without a doubt, the worst phase of my life. It wasn't just the anguish of uncertainty. It was the unbearable emotional conflict of looking at my daughter, that little girl I had held in my arms from day one, and wondering if she was really mine, if the bond I felt was blood, or just a well-performed role all these years. Ashley wasn't cooperating. After the revelation, she oscillated between silence and guilt, and sometimes even dared to say that it didn't change anything, that I was the real father, and that was that. But it did change. It changed everything. I had temporary custody. The school and the juvenile court required her to keep her distance, at least until the process was completed. The judge understood the risk, and her behavior, including the attempted escape, weighed heavily in the decision. It was 3 weeks. 3 weeks of nightmares, sleepless nights, and a daughter asking me, "Is Daddy mad at Mommy?" I didn't know what to say, because how do you explain to a child that her world is cracking in half? Then, on a Friday afternoon, I received the call from the lab. The report was ready. I went to pick it up alone. Sweating hands, shaky legs. I signed the papers and received the sealed envelope. I sat in the car and stared at it like it was a death sentence. It took me minutes to open it, and when I finally read, genetic incompatibility confirmed. Paternity index 0.00%. My vision blurred. My daughter wasn't my biological daughter. I felt a hole open inside me, something visceral, cruel. It was like someone had ripped away the ground, the air, the skin, a pain I can't describe. But in the middle of all this, something else came. Anger. Not at that innocent child, but at the woman who made me live a lie for more than 5 years, who looked me in the eyes every day knowing about the doubt, the risk, who chose silence, who chose the comfort of lies instead of uncomfortable truth. I went home still in shock. My daughter ran to me, hugged me. "Dad, are you okay?" And that's when I realized the result didn't matter. What mattered was the bond. That girl was mine. Yes, not by genetics, but because I chose to be a father. I am. But Ashley didn't deserve anything more from me. The next day I went to her house. "You lied to me for years," I began, without beating around the bush. "You took away my right to choose." She cried, begged for forgiveness, said she was confused at the time that Brian had left, that she thought it was mine, that only later she started to suspect. "You could have told me. I would have stayed. I would have loved her the same way. But now, what's no longer there is you." I handed her the documents. The process would continue, and I would ask for definitive custody. "You won't stop me from seeing my daughter," she said with a choked voice. "No. But now it'll be with rules, supervised, and she'll know everything when the time is right, when she's ready, not you." Ashley lost her footing. Brian disappeared, didn't even dare to contact me anymore, and maybe that was his only decent gesture. Today, custody is officially mine. The judge understood that my daughter needs stability. She doesn't know everything yet, just enough that Mommy did something wrong but still loves her, that Daddy is here, always will be. Little by little, life is getting back on track, but not the same, because after everything, I was never the same again. The silence after the storm is the strangest of all. Ashley disappeared for a few weeks, didn't send messages, didn't try to visit, didn't ask for anything. And even with everything she had done, this made me uneasy, because the Ashley I knew, or thought I knew, never gave up easily. And I knew deep down that her silence was louder than any argument. During this period, my daughter started asking about her more frequently. "Is Mommy never going to pick me up again?" And I, trying to hold back my own pain, would answer, "She will, sweetheart, but we're organizing things so it happens the right way." I couldn't tell the truth yet, that her mother lied, ran away, deceived, that she tried to take her away as if I didn't exist, that she created a parallel reality where I was just a disposable extra, but the real bomb was yet to come. Mike called me once again. "Dude, there's one more thing you need to know." I took a deep breath. "Tell me. Remember I told you Brian and Ashley had a history from years ago? Well, I got access to an old email of hers, one of those from college days that she doesn't even use anymore. It was linked to a cloud storage account. And there are archived messages and a folder called Plan B." "What kind of plan?" "Ashley tried to sue Brian 7 years ago." "What? What do you mean?" "She got pregnant, told him, and he disappeared. Said he didn't want to know about a child. She threatened to tell his family, to destroy his reputation, which at the time was growing as a dentist. They fought badly. There are audios, screenshots. She said she was going to make him pay another way, and I was the other way." Exactly. A bitter taste rose in my throat. So Ashley didn't fall in love with me. It wasn't a relationship that evolved quickly like she always said. It was a plan. a disguised desperation. I was the convenient exit, the ideal substitute father, emotionally stable, financially responsible, emotionally involved. I was her plan B, literally. I sat on the bed and stared at nothing for minutes. 7 years. 7 years of marriage based on a well-calculated lie. And even with all this hatred, this disappointment, I still felt something strange, relief. Because now I knew. Now everything made sense. Days later, Ashley reappeared. She sent me a short message. I need to talk. I just want to say goodbye, for real. I confess I hesitated, but I accepted. We met at a public park where my daughter loved to play. Ashley arrived with her head down, simple clothes, no makeup, nothing of that confident, seductive woman full of masks. I read what you found, she said, without me needing to mention anything. The folder, the messages, everything. Then you know I know the truth. She nodded. At first it was that, yes, desperation, anger at Brian, and you were kind, different. Someone who seemed to see something in me that I didn't even see, and I held on to that. I held on to you. And then? She looked at the ground. Then, I don't know anymore. I think I started believing the lie. I started living it as if it were real, but I never let the past go, and it came back, and I got lost again. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to say she destroyed everyone's life because of her selfishness, but I held back. The only thing that matters now is our daughter, and she needs stability, not confusion. You'll have to rebuild that bond, Ashley, from scratch, with patience, respecting her time. She nodded, crying. I know. And if she ever forgives me, it'll be more than I deserve. We sat in silence for a few seconds. Then she stood up. Thank you for everything you did, even without knowing. And she left. And there, on that park bench, I realized something. Ashley may have used me, may have betrayed me, may have lied about everything, but she gave me something no one else could have given me, my daughter. And for her, I would face any storm. After that last conversation in the park, I expected Ashley to disappear for a while, to withdraw, process everything she had done, but she surprised me. The following week, she sent me a formal email. No nicknames, no emotion, just objectivity. I would like to schedule a supervised visit according to the court decision to see our daughter. I will respect all imposed rules. Yes, our daughter. She didn't use the girl's name, didn't use affectionate words. It was as if she was afraid to allow herself to feel anything. I replied confirming the date and location. A neutral space with a social worker present. I would be in an adjacent room watching through glass. That's what the judge determined, and honestly, I preferred it that way. On the day, Ashley arrived punctually. My daughter entered the room excited, holding a toy. When she saw her mother, she ran to her. Ashley hugged her as if trying to glue a broken vase with her own hands, and I cried silently on the other side of the glass, because no matter how much anger I still felt, there was no denying that bond between mother and daughter was real. Hurt, yes, but real. Ashley didn't try to explain anything, just listened, played, cried softly when the girl said she missed her. It was a difficult hour, intense, but important. After that, visits became bi-weekly, and gradually, my daughter recovered her confidence. Her purity disarmed me. She still didn't know what her mother had done, and when she found out, in the future, inevitably, it would be one more pain for us to face together. During this process, I started therapy. For the first time, I talked about everything without filters, about the betrayal, the paternity test, the manipulation, the feeling of having been just a piece on someone else's chessboard, and about the guilt. Yes, guilt. Because as much as I was the victim, there was a part of me that wondered, how didn't I see it before? How did I let so many signs pass by? The psychologist was direct. You trusted. And trusting isn't weakness, it's courage. That phrase kept echoing in my head. Meanwhile, Ashley started to change. She seemed more contained, more mature. She didn't try contact beyond the visits anymore, started working with online consulting, living with her mother. She began sending small notes along with the toys our daughter brought back. Thank you for taking such good care of her. She talks about you with so much pride. I know I don't deserve it, but thank you for keeping everything so balanced. I didn't respond, not out of coldness, but for protection. I needed time, space. One day during one of these visits, the social worker called me afterward. She's doing everything right, you know, within what's possible, of course. She's following all the guidelines, and she seems really sorry. I nodded. But inside me, the dilemma continued, because forgiveness is a choice, and I still didn't know if I was ready for it. Until one afternoon, my daughter came to me with a drawing. "It's us, Daddy," she said. "And here's Mommy." I looked at the paper. 3 little stick figures holding hands, smiling. She pointed to herself in the center. "I'm the heart." I swallowed hard. The purity of that phrase dismantled me, because in the end, that's what she was. The heart. The center of everything. The reason I endured every pain, every betrayal, every revelation, and for her, I needed to be better. The following week, I wrote an email to Ashley. Short, clear. The pain is still great, the disappointment even greater. But for our daughter, I'm willing to keep the peace, not for what you were to me, but for what she is to us. She deserves two adults who know how to be better than the mistakes they made. The response came the next day. It's all I can ask for. Thank you for being this man. And that's how the cycle began to close. Not with a happy ending, but with a new beginning. From the moment I decided to keep peace with Ashley, a part of me began to heal, not because of her, but because I no longer wanted to live feeding hatred. I didn't have energy for that anymore. All I wanted was stability for my daughter, and if possible, a little peace for myself. And this peace began to build in small gestures. We met a few times at our daughter's birthdays, school events, presentations. At first, we stayed on opposite sides of the room. A cold nod, a polite hi, nothing more. But over time, a kind of possible coexistence emerged. Not friendship, not complicity, just a silent truce. Ashley started acting more transparently. She warned me in advance when she wanted to take the girl on short trips, sent location, photos, updates. She strictly followed visit schedules, never again tried to talk about us two, never asked for apologies again, and I was grateful for that, because words no longer made a difference. What mattered now were actions. During this process, I met someone. Her name was Claire, psychologist, single. No children. We met at a school event. She was the aunt of one of my daughter's classmates. They exchanged sticker album cards, and then she came to talk to me. Light, simple, no pressure. I, of course, was closed off, suspicious. I thought I had no room for anyone else in my life, that I was emotionally shielded. But Claire had a way of entering through doors I didn't even know were still open. We started talking through messages, then coffee, then parks with the children. She was super sweet with my daughter, without forcing anything, without rush. And I realized over time that it wasn't love yet, but it was something important, lightness. And after everything I had lived through, just that seemed like a miracle. I told Ashley, out of obligation and respect. She just nodded and said, "You deserve to be happy, really, with someone who sees you as a priority, not as plan B." It was the first time she acknowledged this in so many words. And as strange as it may seem, that hurt less than I imagined. Because now, I knew who I was. I wasn't the deceived man. I wasn't the used fool. I was the guy who held everything together when the world collapsed. And most importantly, I was, and always will be, my daughter's father. Building a new relationship after trauma isn't like starting from scratch. It's like starting from a completely different point, carrying a backpack full of distrust, scars, and questions you don't even know if you want to ask. And yet, Claire was patient, never pressured me, never wanted to heal anything. She was just there, present. Our connection grew gradually, with the lightness my life always needed, and that I didn't even know was possible. Today is my daughter's birthday, the 8th. The house is full of balloons, chocolate cake with colorful sprinkles, and a bunch of kids running around the yard. Claire is in the kitchen, organizing drinks with that calm way that balances chaos. Ashley is here too. Yes. For the first time in years, we share the same space without tension. She arrived with my daughter's little brother in her arms, left a gift on the table, greeted me with a sincere hi, and kept respectfully distant. Claire received her warmly, and I found myself watching it all happen, almost like a spectator of a life I once thought I'd never have. My daughter pulled me by the hand in the middle of the chaos. "Dad, come sing happy birthday," and there I went. Surrounded by voices, laughter, crushed brownies on the floor, she blew out the candles, looked at me and said, "My wish is a secret, but it has you in it." That was my gift. After the party, when everyone was already leaving, I sat in the backyard with her, the sun setting slowly, painting the sky with shades of orange that seemed hand-painted. You know, Dad, sometimes I still think about that dream, the man with the beard, but now I understand he might just be that, a dream. And it's okay if one day you want to turn that dream into reality when you're ready. She nodded, thoughtful. But for now, my heart is already complete, just with you and Claire. I turned to her, emotional, and you filled mine. She hugged me, in that way only children can hug, with truth, with strength, with soul. And it was there in that simple backyard, with the party remnants scattered on the ground and the sky changing colors, that I knew, with absolute certainty, this story began with a lie. But it ended with the most powerful truth that exists: real love. The kind that chooses to stay, the kind that overcomes everything. Years later, my daughter found the letter I had written. She was 16, mature enough to understand everything. She read it quietly, asked a few questions, cried a little, and then she said, "Dad, I understand why you wrote this, but you know what? Biology doesn't make a father. Love does. And you've been my real dad since day one. Brian?" She decided she didn't want to meet him. "I already have a father," she said simply. Ashley became a better mother over time. The supervised visits eventually became regular visits, then holidays together. We never became friends, but we learned to co-parent with respect. Claire and I got married 2 years after that birthday party. My daughter was the flower girl and insisted on making a speech. Claire makes my dad happy, and happy dads make the best dads. Sometimes the most beautiful stories come from the most broken beginnings, and sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. This is my story, our story. A story of betrayal that became a story of love, a story of lies that became a story of truth, a story of endings that became a story of beginnings, and most importantly, a story that proves that sometimes, when everything falls apart, what's left standing is what was real all along.